Do you think in these 26 years of our democratic journey, is it the kind of Nigeria that you perhaps, as a person, dreamt or envisaged?
No. I thought that things would have been a lot better than what we have today. And I've looked at it very carefully, and it says something must be wrong. But after, not even 25, let's go to 1960. So we have military coups, in and out, then finally democracy since 2000. 25 years. Something is fundamentally wrong in a process that is not delivering. I like the way P2B summarized it. Absolutely. You got it absolutely spot on. Nigeria, if you ask Nigerians, broadly speaking, right now, who would you want to vote for? They would just tell you want to vote for food in our tummies, good schools, good roads, pay us our salaries in time, housing, the things that make them comfortable. Nigerians are not really interested in who is the president. They're interested in a president who will deliver. That's why it's necessary to also be sure that you have a good president. But in my reflections, and I've reflected quite a lot, I just came to a conclusion that it's time to shed ourselves of this Western model, the Oyibo model, the model that the Europeans and the Americans have foisted on us. It's not working. You know, the other day I saw President Trump in the Arabian Peninsula. And I was saying, these are the same Muslims that we have here. But look at how successful they are. Whether it's in Bahrain, Qatar, even Saudi Arabia. It's trying to revamp its image. So what's wrong with us? The thing wrong with us is to ask whether the Western model is suited for Nigeria. I don't think it's suited. Look at China. China is undemocratic. But things are working. Deng Xiaoping, who was the second Chinese leader, brought 900 million people out of poverty. China is today shaking the world because of its resilience, its contribution to the dividends of its people, not necessarily democracy. So I think it's time to have a rethink. I mean, nothing shocked me more than to see Okowa jump out of the PDP, where he was vice presidential candidate. You jump out of it. Without an opposition, how can you have a government? So that's the problem. Everybody wants to be in government, and it's not possible. People want to be in government, winner take all, chop chop. Nobody wants to be in the opposition. And that's why we're not growing. So one of my big points is it's time to rethink, reflect, and say, is this Oyibo Western model working? It's not working, and that's the problem.
So now you...
See, please, I want you to take your time. Listen to this senior man, Mr. Olisa Agbakoba. This interview, what he said on this video, very interesting. This is the conversations we need now, and we need to start now. It's never too late to start now, but if you refuse, if you fail to start today, it will affect us tomorrow. These are the problems we failed to solve yesterday, and they are now becoming multiple problems now ahead of us. Because the way the country is going now, the way the system is being run today, we are in danger. And if we continue like this without having conversations around these issues, it's not going to work. It's still going to be more problems. So listen to how Olisa Agbakoba has been able to explain, even provide some solutions, what we need. He has been saying, campaigning about this. Do you understand? So please take your time, watch the video to the end, and please, I'll be your guy now. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the notification button so that you don't miss a video like this next time. Let's go there.
You had put pen to paper, and I read the article where you have argued that the adoption of the Western-style democratic and capitalist system of running the government or country is wrong. And that, well, not necessarily wrong, but that it has not delivered to us as a people the stability that we look forward to, the development, the national unity, the cohesion that Nigeria needs urgently. But in that true sense, have anybody been able to put forward any kind of system that perfectly suits Nigeria as we are presently framed?
It's about thinking through it. That's it. There's been the assumption that this model works. But I think everybody will agree that it's not working. In the last 25 years, it hasn't worked. So can't we begin to think about a new process? The beginning of a new process is to think through it. But what I see is that everybody is happy. The big talk now was 2023. The next big talk is 2027. No one cares to ask, what exactly would we have in 2027? So I want the conversation to start by asking the question, is this thing working for us? My own answer is that the Western model of democracy maybe it's working in Europe, but it's certainly not working here. So what is it that we can put on the table that will work? I think that the first thing to do is to recognize that this country is very divided along ethnic, religious, and linguistic lines. So whatever we're going to do will take into account these seismic divisions. That's not happening here. What we see is a very strong centrifugal power center in Abuja, which excludes every other person. You had mentioned that President Tinubu was in Rome for the inauguration of the Pope. Now, if Nigeria can adopt the federalism in the Catholic structure, I'm a Catholic, that would be fantastic. So in my parish church on Sunday, the Pope doesn't know who is the parish priest. And we're building some new centers and new things we're doing that is costing about 1 billion naira. The Pope is not concerned because the Pope has his own hierarchy of powers. He's dealing with issues of dogma, of encyclicals, and not things that concern the local people on the ground. Tell me, the 774 local governments we have in Nigeria, how strong are they? Because the base of Nigerian politics must be at the grassroots. So the disempowerment of the grassroots, where you find almost 200 million Nigerians, is a great disaster. We have to have a model that takes into account the people who live on the fringes. We must bring in the marginalized, the excluded, into the political game. But where one party wins and excludes the others, everybody wants to join. So you have all the issues of killings, banditry, all sorts of things unimaginable take place. And so in 2027, we have what the West has endorsed as formal democracy. There's election. The BVACs will fail. This fails. Judicial process does not work well. We inaugurate a president, and then it goes on and on and on. No, that's the time to think through a new model is now.
Now, Mr. Agbakoba, we as a country, we have usually mouthed, and our political analysts and political scientists have modeled and tried to figure out our federalism, presidential system after the United States. There are those who will say it took the United States almost 180 years to stabilize their democracy. They've gone through civil war. They've gone through agitation of women's suffrage. They've gone through inclusion of colored people into electoral process. They've gone through agitation, post depression, reconstruction issues, and a lot of years have gone by. In fact, there are those who will say that it was only about the 1960s that America started stabilizing gradually into its democracy. And those who will say Nigeria, we are growing it, and it has to be systemic and gradual. Are you impatient, Mr. Agbakoba? Thinking in the heads of a lot of Nigerians who think this system may not be working. There are those who say, if it takes America that long, are we impatient? Can we see it through? Whether or not, one way or the other, we will morph into what should be.
Well, look, when you say impatience, don't forget that, and here I use the word governance very loosely, because don't forget that almost a quarter or even a third of the world is not democratic. It's not, for instance, China is not democratic. So the key question to ask as we begin to think through what we should do with a new governance system is democracy, it might sound very controversial, but we must confront this question. Is democracy the only model to consider? Is China not doing well for its people? If you took a vote of Nigerians, do you think that they would necessarily return a verdict on democracy? That is something we must not take for granted. I cherish democracy as a Democrat, but I'm not going to say I assume that Nigeria must be a democracy. China is not a democracy. China is only 11 years older than Nigeria. But look at the gap. I remember that the UAE came here in 1975 asking for money. But can you compare Nigeria and the UAE? So when you say, are we impatient? I'm a bit taken aback. Must we spend 300 years because the US spent 200 years? Can't we learn from the examples of those who have become developed? Well, my big example would be the UAE, developed as it is. China, 1.4 billion people, yet they have been managed. What made them successful? Can't we learn lessons from what made China successful? Here, we have a challenge about our democratic system. And I put that down to the Western political system that enables the person who wins to take everything. Now, if you take everything and exclude others, there'll be problems. But if you have a system, whatever it is, that it includes people, everybody, I don't know what that will be called. If you have a system that includes people, then I think it will be really, really beneficial. Right now, we have a big problem in having a system that excludes. I think you will find the biggest problem we have in Nigeria around exclusion. That, I think, is the biggest problem. Around exclusion. People are not taking part in the process. So, right, let's say 2027 is coming. So suddenly you have a big issue of coalitions, defections. Why? I've not heard many politicians talk about people, about the welfare of Nigerians, about their suffering, about their inadequate opportunities. I've not heard that. All I hear politicians do is every 4 years, they jump up, they become active. Once they get power, they disappear. Look at the ridiculous one in the National Assembly about voting being compulsory. If that bill were to pass, I, Olisa Agbakoba, will not obey it. I'll plead conscientious objection. I'd rather go to prison for 6 months than to obey it. Why would the National Assembly want to impose compulsory voting? Why don't they reverse the question and say, why are Nigerians not interested? What is the apathy about? Well, the apathy is that they don't get anything. If I know that I'm going to get something, there's an aspiration, there's an interest, you will find people coming out to vote. But if people see the same old trick, you come, you take my vote, you disappear, till the next 4 years, there'll be apathy. So for all these reasons, Sean, I think we need to look for a new model. We need to look for a new model.
So, and I'm thinking
that something follows. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking, is it that the public office is too juicy? It's too attractive. That is why. Because I imagine you're saying that those who have led this country have not really done well. But perhaps I'm inferring from your statement tonight that we've had leadership failure in this country, and that's why we are where we are today. Am I right from what you're saying?
You're right. You're right. We've generally had. I mean, there've been some. We've had some good leaders, I must confess. But generally speaking, the leadership quality has been very poor, and the leadership quality has not led Nigerians to where it wants to be. And that's why I refer to the fact that we have voter apathy and disinterest. So unless we ask ourselves and interrogate the issue behind this lack of interest in voting, we will not get it right. And I can tell you that the reason why Nigerians are not interested is because they don't see anything. You should take a trip around Nigeria. Lagos is not Nigeria, by the way, because some people who live here like us think that Lagos is Nigeria or Abuja is Nigeria. Go to the villages and see the suffering. So why is it that the politicians come to us every 4 years and then disappear, and they keep everything? What the American famous writer of a book called Why Nations Fail, called the plutocrats. Less than 0.5% of Nigerians have 99% of the wealth. There's something wrong with that inequality. Inequality is something that causes tension and division, and it makes it easy for politicians to buy votes because people are so hungry. I don't blame anyone who takes 2,000 naira to vote because he's not got money. So we have to devise a system that includes. It's very important. Everyone. The closest I think I can remember and recall of a political governance process that was put forward was by the late Dr. Alex Ekweme when he devised the 6 geopolitical zones, and he even talked about vice presidents coming from the different zones, but that didn't work out. So what you have here now is a federal government exercising complete political power over everything. Nigeria now is divided, as you know, into at least 2 autonomous governments, because I don't want to count the local government as the third. So you have the federal government and you have the state government. Have you ever taken a look at the budget of the prisons? Nigeria runs a federal prison system to the exclusion of the states, and they are spending between 11 to 15 billion every year to maintain the prison service. But they have no prisoners. They have got only one, and that's Nnamdi Kanu. So if you've got no prisoners, why run prisons? Why don't you simply allocate it to the states? Why don't you? Why are you keeping prisons when you don't have prisoners? Why do you issue driver's license when that is not your business? That's the business of the state. Why do you have births and deaths? You have the marriage registry. What is the federal government doing registering my marriage? Is that not a local government function? Why are the local governments deprived of governmental things to do, and you keep them on busy? So you pack all the power to the center. You have only one IG. How can you have just one IG of police in a country and think that it will be free of crime? That's the problem. So we have to distribute power and include. Yes. Yeah. So here, for those who are democracy advocates and who will say there are no options or alternative to democracy, and if you have spoken highly about how the Chinese system has worked,
What exactly are you saying in that sense?
I'm saying that if China, which is not democratic, is working, what is making them work? And why can't we look at what is making them work without necessarily becoming a non-democratic state?
So you think that we should sit down as a people and have a conversation, a national conversation, to begin to rethink our process? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
because it's not working.
Mr. Agbakoba, you've been around longer than much longer than I have. You've seen a lot of national conferences. And the report of those conferences are gathering dust. Wasted effort and wasted money, because they are wasted in the sense that if they are not utilized, what sense are they doing in the National Library or in the corners of the presidential villa? Confab is the latest one, is the last one of 2014 under President Goodluck Jonathan, and nothing has happened to it. If you are proposing that, how sure are we? Is there a political will of the government of the day to be able to put one together and convene a conference that may affect the structure of the government that the government of the day is running on? Or how do we even go about it, Mr. Agbakoba?
I have no idea. I'm just one person, but I'm just throwing up challenges. My point to you this evening is that things are not working.
Is there a danger if it is not urgently looked at?
Of course. I mean, look at how the instability is growing again. It went down, but now it's growing again. So there's a point we're going to get to where, I don't know, it's a dangerous country. It's an extremely dangerous country. Let's face it. Let's not lie about it. Nigeria is an extremely dangerous country crying for leadership. And to your point about all these national conferences and why do they not work, they don't work because the people who have hijacked power, the kleptocrats who have hijacked power, don't want it to work. They are not about to expand the space to include everybody. They like it. And that's the problem. So there are ways, and let me be frank, there are ways, I'm going to be brutally frank on your program. Military coup d'etat. Sensible people coming to the table and saying, let's stop this nonsense and get Nigeria going. Communism, the China way. We have to face it. We've got to face it. You that I'm talking to, Shehu, I started this thing at 29, now I'm 72. So we've got to be realistic that things are not working. Absolutely not working. So there's no point lying. I marvel at the other day I was just looking at my online program at they called it what do they call it now? The bridges, the infrastructure of China. During COVID, China built in 9 days a 1,000 bed hospital. 1,000 bed hospital. If they can do it, what's wrong with us? Is it not time? Or part of the problem too is we lack visionary leaders. So we've got to be able to find somebody that can lead us out of this morass. But if whether we're the morass, we are. Do I have the full answers? I don't. But these are the options. We have to look at options because Nigeria is going down. And there are good people that you can pull together to make it change. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. We are too greedy here, our politicians. Can you ask yourself, and please next time invite Mr. Okowa, because he's, for me, a big disappointment. A man who was vice presidential candidate on a major political party jumps out of that party claiming that the party is no longer relevant. The party that took him from councillor to local government chair to commissioner to SSG to governor to vice presidential candidate, then it's no longer relevant. Ah, boy. No. That takes the beating out of Nigerians. And I think more defections are coming. Everybody now wants to be in the APC. But why can't you be in the opposition and grow it and challenge the APC, giving us a potential to make choices? We say, oh, it can be APC because they can do this. Some will say, no, it is PDP or whatever other party that there is. That's the choice we are looking for. Why can't we get there is the problem.
All right.
We are held down.
Yeah, Mr. Agbakoba, you are a pro-democracy advocate, and at 70-something, you are giving up. I'm still in my 40s. I don't know.
Don't misquote me. I haven't given up.
No, I mean, you said that this democracy is not working.
Yes, is it working? Do you think it's working?
No, that's what I'm saying. It sounds to me that you have given up on this democracy if it's not working.
No, I'm not giving up. I'm trying to say, what can we do to make it work? That's my point. I didn't say I've given up.
Okay. Let's take a breather, Mr. Agbakoba, and we perhaps will help our nation to rethink the best ways forward. I do believe that Nigeria can be greater than America. Well, don't laugh me, because I do know that there are great people in this country, and this land has enormous potential, and America will be shocked in the coming years if only we can get our acts together. But we'll take a breather, everyone. When we come back, our conversation with senior advocate of Nigeria, Olisa, mix of the 2027 elections, our electoral and political journey, and whether or not the system of government we presently operate fits perfectly into our kind of life. There are a lot of argument. The argument Mr. Olisa Agbakoba has put forward tonight is the Western style of democratic and capitalist system of government. It's not working. And he's talking about devolving of power to regions and incentivizing productivity over resource extraction. It was an article that we looked through, and they're speaking to it tonight. Mr. Agbakoba, give us an understanding of where we need to go. You said we need a conversation, but what is the best ways to approach it?
That's a $66 million question. We've been talking, and we just not got it right. So, to be quite honest with you, whatever way is the best way to approach it is to first start with the issue of the recognition of the problem, and that's what I spent the last 20 minutes with you trying to share, that there is a problem. If we accept there's a problem, then the thing to do is how, after you get a diagnosis, you get the prescription. So what is the prescription? I think it's quite simple. Any nation that has a multitude of people that are diverse will know that being very strongly put together will not work. That's a no-brainer. So federalism is the best process suited for Nigeria's diversity, unity in diversity. We're diverse but united. Question is, where do you strike the balance? So just to give you a quick rundown on the Constitution contains 98 items of power. 68 items of that is exclusively reserved for the federal government under what is called the exclusive list. The other 30 is reserved for the states under what is called the concurrent list. And mark you, the word concurrent is very tricky. Concurrent means that two persons can use it. So when the federal government keeps its own 68 to the exclusion of the states, the same federal government can interfere in the other 30, which is concurrent with that of the states, meaning that there's only one government. People don't realize this. That's what it means. Then we have Schedule 4 of the, so there's only one government in Nigeria. Then we have Schedule 4 of the Constitution that assigns power to the local governments, which is consecrated as a democratically elected government by Section 7 of the Constitution. You know what the governments have done? And that's why bless his soul, President Tinubu, for absolutely removing the powers of the states to control the finances of local governments. That was a brilliant blow. But he needs to go further. Let me take Lagos State. Lagos State passed a law, absolutely ridiculous, saying, you know what, all you local government people, you don't have the power and capacity and the money to do the various things the Constitution assigns you to do, like refuse collection. So what's it called, this normal laws or whatever it is. So the Lagos State government passes a law taking all the powers of the local governments to themselves, that we shall do the work for you. Can you beat that? In other words, crippling the effectiveness of the local governments. That's the problem. That is the problem. So effectively, the local governments have been crippled, except now that Mr. President has given them financial autonomy. The state governments are crippled. Don't forget when Amechi was governor of River State. He was reduced by Mr. Mbu, who was commissioner of police. They locked him out. What did heavens for? A commissioner of police locking out a governor of the state. That tells you the problem we have. So unless we begin to confront these problems, we're going nowhere. There is no way a commissioner of police can interfere in the matters concerning a state. So my answer to your question is, we have to redistribute. We have to evolve, we have to devolve, we have to restructure, whatever name you want to call it. We have to rebalance Nigeria so that all organs of government and their different spheres of influence will have true capacity to work without interference. The federal government will have its own sphere of influence, and the states and the local government. Then you have three co-equal governments. That is the start of the building blocks of a true democracy. That's what
Mr.
I think should
Agbakoba,
happen.
I put you in a rather difficult situation. Perhaps not
Sure.
what you at this age, what you probably will imagine you'll be in, but it's going to be a very few minutes of feeling like that. Let's assume that you are President Olisa Agbakoba, President of Nigeria. Just for a moment, imagine it. And for all you have analyzed,
Sure.
President Olisa Agbakoba,
Yes.
what would you do to Nigeria today if you were the president?
The first thing I'll do is to dismantle the constitution. That's the first thing I'll do. I'll dismantle the constitution. I'll call in the elders, social elders, religious elders, traditional elders, political elders, and say, I'm in trouble. Things are not working. What can we do? I'll have a frank conversation and say, I'd like to make Nigeria a place where everybody feels equal. And the only way I can do it is to take government to the roots. There are things I can't do that I see in the constitution. I don't want to do them. So I would like to have a situation where I distribute power and pass a new constitution. And in fact, I see a model. I see the 1963 model. Can we have that so that the regions will have its space? MKO once told me when I visited him that one of the ways in which he had peace was he never allowed any wife to dominate. So if wife A wanted to cook okra soup for the kids, that's fine. Another one wants to cook amala, that is fine. But if you decide to have one central wife who says today is rice and beans, but most of the children don't want it, then there's a problem. So decentralization is the way to go.
Sadly, your reign as president is over. And unfortunately, I made you president in 1 minute, and you've told us what you will do. But now, do you think that the original president, President Bola Tinubu, has the political will or could do what you have described now?
I don't see why not. Bola Tinubu is a great friend of mine, and we used to talk very much in the democracy during the struggle. And I don't see what's holding him, honestly. I think he has the will and the capacity to carve his name in history. There is not President Tinubu reducing his powers and strengthening the states and the local government will not make him less President Tinubu. It will make him more effective. You know what I always tell people who are my friends in politics? I say, you guys spend too much politicking. Every night you are cavorting in rooms and all that. But there's something very simple you can do. Win the hearts and minds of people. It's the easiest way. Win people by being good. Deliver schools, deliver hospitals, deliver good jobs. They will not forget you. They will in fact line up and vote for you because you are the man who did not ask anything from them. But if you think you can keep buying, because you know the game of Nigerian politics is to buy the votes and to read. You know that. That's why every time we are over clogging the courts with petitions. Why can't politicians, and for the life of me, I don't understand it. I am a political leader. God has allowed me the opportunity to govern people. I will do good by them. That's how they will love me. That's the reason they will come back and say, we want you to continue. That's the easiest way to get into government and to continue for the 8 years that you are there. Why would you, when you are elected, not do anything? Well, it beats me. It beats me. I don't understand it. Why come to office in the first place?
Yeah. Let me allow you. You said the president is a very good friend. He's getting into his second year of his reign as president. And if you are to tell him something tonight about the way our country is, and you have said earlier today that we urgently need to take action for our country to move forward. Let's assume Mr. President Bola Tinubu is watching you tonight. What would you be telling him right now?
Yes. But I've told him.
What did you tell him?
I told him Nigeria's constitution needs to be reviewed, reworked, remodeled, and designed in a way to suit our democracy and our people, number one. Two, I've told him that we should practice what I call economic nationalism. Money is in the hands of too few people. I don't want to go into the issue of what happens in our oil governance because nobody will believe it, so I'll just leave that one. But when money in Nigeria is in the hands of too few, there's a problem. Let's have a system to distribute wealth equitably, maybe not equally, equitably. Let everybody feel the impact of government. That's what I will tell him, and that's what I told him. I gave him 10 points. 10 points.
But what was his response?
I will call you.
Did he say that he was going to do any of those things?
He He said that he will call me. I'm waiting for the call. I'm waiting for the call.
How long was this? How long was this?
This was actually at Akpabio's birthday celebration in Abuja, where I gave the keynote speech. And I gave them 10 points that if they put in place will change Nigeria. It's not difficult to make Nigeria work. That's the problem.
2027.
Yes.
It's going to be another milestone. Either we like it or not. If nothing changes.
Yes.
The merger, the coalition, and you were very frank, and you don't like the manner in which what happened in Delta PDP happened. But those who are saying that status quo will be retained if opposition does not get serious. Looking at the crystal ball, what do you see for 2027?
I see a completely weakened opposition, which has started, unfortunately. If I have to be realistic, I don't see the opposition. I don't see it, because if the opposition wanted to win my heart, I mean, in Romania yesterday, there was a big debate as to whether a pro-Trump president will win. The reverse happened. A pro-European president won because he engaged the people. I don't see the opposition engaging anybody except carpet crossing and defecting. So where's the policy? If you wanted to say we are ready to be in government, where is the message? It's not coming across. That's the problem. Nothing is coming across. The signals are blurred. The radio is not tuned properly. So Nigerians are not hearing. If the opposition thinks that they're making any sense, I better tell them tonight they're not. And if they think they have a chance for 2027, they have 2 years to wake up. But if the answer is to keep defecting, that's not going to help Nigerians, because it will not strengthen democracy. It will rather weaken it, and that's the big shame. So in reality, the real challenge is, where are those people who are prepared to sacrifice to be in the opposition and make it work? That is the challenge.
The electoral process in this country,
Nigeria can work.
Yeah, the electoral process in this country is one area that gives a lot of people worry. You've identified that we've been unfortunate with the quality of leadership in this country. If you have visionless leaders, purposeless leaders, leaders without focus, the nation can never move forward. But what about election? The process that brings these people to power, how do we fix that?
The process that brings these people to power is unfortunately itself manipulated. It's manipulated. I mean, do you want me to tell you the story of how some people in the APC ran for presidential slots when they lost and the time had passed? They quickly ran to become senators and they are there. Don't you know about that? So what electoral process are you talking about? It doesn't exist. That's the truth. It doesn't exist. Which is why you have voter apathy. People say, we're going to vote. Will it count? If you want to ask my honest opinion, I ain't going to vote nowhere. Not going anywhere. I'm going to be on my bed that day drinking non-alcohol beer, because I don't know that it will count. If I go and stand in the sun for 1-2 hours just to see people pinching money around, you can see the mago going on. It's so obvious. If you had a camera, you will see it. So you want me to go to that process? I might not go. I'm still thinking about whether I'll go. But for now, let the opposition wake up. Let them stop drifting into the APC. Come on, stand firm. If you lose, you lose. People will recognize and remember you. This thing we're talking about, very, very soon, people will not remember those who were in power today. So the legacy you can give yourself is to write to them in history that at a particular point in time, so and so person led the Nigerian opposition, or so and so person led the ruling party. And I'm sure President Tinubu would, at the end of the day, be a better president if he had a strong opposition.
I have just 30 seconds to close the program, Mr. Agbakoba. You saw the effort of Mr. Peter Obi. A lot of people never gave him a chance, but you saw what happened. But those who are thinking that he needs to pair up with someone that is strong to give Nigerians alternative. If you have the opportunity to advise someone like Mr. Peter Obi or Atiku Abubakar ahead of 2027, what would you be telling them? Just about 30 seconds so that we can close.
I'd say to them, build the opposition first. Opposition is not built around a person. It's built around structures and institutions. So Peter Obi, yes, but there must be something around him, not just Peter Obi. There's got to be something around him. So Atiku, there's got to be something around you. But here in Nigeria, we have one party opposition. That's why it doesn't work. We need to see millions. Have you ever seen anyone? And here's why I criticize the trade union process. Every time they go on their so-called strike, a day to the strike, they call it off. Even me, I blame the churches. Where are they? Where are they? I'm a Catholic, 30 million Catholics. Where are they? Where are the traditional rulers? Why is everybody quiet? Where's civil society? So the hapless Nigerian who earns a living every day and makes 2,000 naira, are those the guys you think will fight?
All right.
When the structure of Nigeria is not working?
Mr. Olisa.